Hey guys, welcome back to Right Guys, episode 5.
Yeah. Hope
Is
y'all had a good holiday.
Yes, sir. It's the new year. We've just had 2 holidays. It's now 2020, and we have going to be talking about the topic of
2022.
resolutions. Talk.
It is now
Now
2020.
2022, and
Yep. So we're
we're going to
back.
be talking about resolutions. We're going to be getting
Yes.
into the things that we resolve to do in the new year, the resolutions that we make as humans as part of this tradition, but also the resolutions that we tell as parts of our story traditions. The 3-act
Yes.
structure, Micah. What is a
Yeah. We're gonna go over different ways to resolve a story, and we are actually hitting up the second round of da 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 dead words. So get your defibrillators out. You're gonna need them here in a minute. And let's see, we go over the writing challenge like always, and a new challenge that will also be a modifier later. You'll learn all about that.
Yep.
We're about to change the English language, so there's a lot of big important stuff happens in this one. So
Keep your tuners set to Right Guys o'clock, because we're going to be going hard for about 2 hours here.
perfect. All right, let's get in. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Micah. We're back.
Hey, Happy New Year, man.
I feel like I haven't existed for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I'm back for a few hours of consciousness. I've awakened to reality.
Yeah,
I'm inside of a TV set.
I passed out in the bar, and then I
Yeah.
just woke up 3 weeks later, and it's a whole new year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, so Christmas just passed, and
Indeed. We've
New
taken down
Year's
the
passed.
lights.
Yep. We had to switch it up. Festive becomes tacky if you leave it up too long, and we're
Interesting.
anything but tacky. Well, we kick it off. What's on your mind, Ben?
Well, between this meeting and our last meeting, I've done a lot of writing. And
Awesome.
it was sort of like an answer to the initial call that we made when we started this podcast. I mean, I've been pursuing creative projects for a couple of years and been in various stages of being at obstacle points with those projects, whether that's all like writing based creative stuff or more like just finding different walls in the marketing processes or like the networking processes. But
Yeah.
starting Right Guys, we really wanted to make writing a priority in our regular lives so that we would be able to take on those creative hurdles whenever they arise, and be more prepared for them in our day-to-day life. And I've had sort of my first real testimony experience of Right Guys working. Whatever
Badass.
we're doing every week of working on my brain to be in the mode that it knows how to write words well. It's like, I mean, there's a lot to say about it, and I mean, I'm going to try to touch on a lot of it now, and if some of it ends up getting sprinkled throughout the episode, then that's what happens. But
It's a definite space, though. Like that whatever the muscle is that gets you where you start piecing together the words that match exactly what you're thinking. And
yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, over the last few years, like I've been I've had so many things that I've been like, oh, that's a song, like an idea that I have that I'm like, oh, there's a great song in that idea. Oh, that's a really that's like an interesting thought there's a verse in that. You know, I have that thought so often, and it's sort of like a cursed reality to live in as a musician who's been in states of writer's block, because I've been like thinking about all these possible things I could do, and then like when you try to do them, it's like it's like it's like, how? Like you sit down and you're like, now I have this like idea. How do you like wrangle it into a shape? And like, and I, now that I've sort of started, like, it was just so crazy. Like I had just like ideas flying at me, and it was like I couldn't write fast enough sometimes, and it was like,
oh, that's the best.
it's like from getting your there wasn't like something that I could really do to make it happen. Like there was, ultimately it was right, guys, and it was working regularly and getting my brain to a point where its latent state is like vigilant or ready. It's like about, because you can't, what struck me is that the day it was happening, as I was sitting and writing, like I was just catching things as they were going by me. It was like just waiting and letting your mind be agile enough that you can let it bend to like have fun and create new things, but also grab the ones that are good before they get too far. And it's like I would have like a line or something that would just start going through my head, and I'd be like, that's a perfect line, and it would be like one of the things that I've been thinking of trying to write for a year now, and I'd be like, that's it, just said it. I just wrote it, and I guess that's what you have to. You can just say the line you wanted to write, and there it is. And I wanted to say this thing, and now I did, and it worked. And what would happen is like I would start with a thought, and it would be like a great line or something, and then I have to choose a moment to pull back into reality to try to record the idea. But that will inevitably like yank me out of my communion with the idea. And so there was a balance of trying to keep myself inundated, like in like the state of surrender to hear as much as I could, but try to judge when would be the moment that I would come back to try to write it down.
Get it to paper.
And like I fell every point on that spectrum. I fell at some point. I stopped too soon, and I got just a little bit of an idea, and maybe sometimes I wasn't able to finish it. I sometimes stopped at the perfect time and just like got an idea, just like a full idea out, and I was like, man, maybe I could have gone longer, but who knows? And sometimes I just went and couldn't find the beginning, and so just lost the whole thing. And it's like it's just such an interesting place, because it's not what I think of when I normally think about what it's like to write. But looking back at the moments that have been most impactful and have been the most important writing moments for me, it's usually some form of this that's happening, whether I'm writing music or words, like for a story, like a screenplay or something. I mean, it's like, with music, you kind of get a more obvious way that those choppier one-liners can sort of be coming by you, but the one-liners are just sentences. It works the same way with the story, where I'll be writing and I'll get up to the end of describing what I knew I was going to say with a paragraph, and then my brain just listens for what sounds right to come next, and usually there's another type of sentence that comes after, and I just can follow a thread when I'm in that mode, and when my mind is agile enough to be able to create those connections. It's interesting. I was watching this video on creativity. I think it was from the Netflix The Mind Explained series. Yeah, so what they said on that show is like there's these two parts of the brain that creativity is basically based on how well they're interacting. There's the default mode network, and then like the critical thinking network, essentially, which the default mode network is like you could imagine as like a little kid with a bunch of like paint or like a bucket of paint that is just splashing around everywhere. It's just unbound creativity without any logic guiding it in place. And so like it's the part of your brain that is just making totally random connections that may or may not be what you're looking for at all, but it's just things hitting the wall. And how effectively this part of your brain is communicating with the critical thinking part of your brain, which is primarily shooting down ideas. And a lot of people will be better at one of these than the other, but creativity is the conversation between those two. So it's
Wow, that's a beautiful way to put it. It makes sense.
yeah, and when I think about songwriting is one of the most obvious ways that it comes up. Like literally when I'm writing a song, if I have the melody in place, say it's like da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, my brain will be like, that was one I was coming up with last summer. My brain will be like da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, summer lover, stay for a while. Da-na-na, and it will come up with like other like lua lua, come to my arms, and it will just start doing, and like half of them will be terrible,
Yeah.
and half of them will be okay.
Oh yeah.
And
Mine will come out just like gibberish. Like
yeah,
I'll just know like it'll basically come out as syllables. I'll just know like
right.
syllables and like sentence length, and then like maybe I'll hit a verb or I mean, I'll hit like a vowel or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like, ooh,
and more
bop,
more
bop,
often
bop,
than
bop, bop, I.
it,
That's
it
what I want
almost
to do.
always
Yeah.
starts it almost always starts like that. And I would say the process of leaving a melody in your brain just to cook, it's like I'll be meditating on it for like a week. And at that point your brain has sort of it's noticed all the patterns around this melody line, and it's noticed the inflection points, and my brain will have these subconscious words that fit well on certain parts. And so when I start just like trying to synthesize a line, I'll just find words coming out that are like, oh, that really fits that dip of that part of that melody. And it's like that is totally just based on how long I've been practicing on a particular song. And
Man, I gotta say that's the first time that I've heard that process articulated so well. That's exactly how I feel, and how like you like cooking an idea. Like that's how I write songs. That's how I write stories. Like I'll have an idea for a story. I'm like, ooh, I like that idea, and then I put it on the stove, and then I go about my day, or I'm driving or something, and then I'll check back in with it every once in a while, and then every once in a while, like there will be something cool there that I'm like, oh, I want to keep that.
yeah,
And then I'll kind of go over it again. And when I actually sit down to do chair time, it's after probably about a week of cooking. And then I'm like, okay. But what I want to do is, and what hopefully Right Guys is leading us to, is where, as the quote, I mean, we kick this thing off with that inspiration doesn't write books, chair time does. Like getting to where chair time is just like the two are happening at the same time, But that, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but that excites me to hear it said that way. It makes sense.
no, and it's just been really cool being in that place to be able to get those things like more effectively and let that communication process happen. And it's like, it's so, dude, like, I don't know. One of the things I've been really struggling with for a while in songwriting is I'll be able to come up with a first line, like the first line to start a chorus, I think is the easiest thing to write. It just always sounds so cool. It's like, so like I'll have these ones like, if I could know all the time we shared would make me a richer man, would make me a better man. And I didn't really know what to do after like the because that's such like a fun little part.
Yeah.
And the part
it
after
is.
that just kind of rambles and stays the same. And then after that, my brain was just trying to repeat it. And I'm like, songs flow. They do like cool things from one part to the next. And I always, if I just have one cool thing, I try to like the second part has to somehow at least deliver on the pattern that was set up. And it can be really hard to find a way to switch up the rhythm, but still do that in a satisfying way. And it's like my brain often just creates these very simple repeated patterns. I have started figuring out how to switch up, I think, the pattern of lines, like how to truly find like a flow that changes. And for me, with this most recent song, it was about just focusing on saying what I want to say and trying to let the rhythm be the thing that is like catching up and making things work. Like I would
Yeah.
normally go rhythm first and like just write around the melody line and the rhythm line. But what I started doing was just like, because there were these lines and ideas that were coming out of me that were things I really wanted to say and wanted to be saying, I would like, after I was struggling with trying to fit a verse or a line together for a while, I would just drop it and be like, okay, let's not just try to rubric this thing and like find the right syllables to mathematically fit here. Let's just say the sentence in the most clear way and then see how the rest of the music would have to play around that to work. And it's just like this stuff just started like flowing out, like the different like melodies and things that were coming out of it were exactly what I was looking for. It was just like so that one I could do. I figured out where it would go after. If I could know all the time we shared would make me a richer man, would make me a better man. Then I would throw all my caution to the wind, and I could be better right now before I let it go to shit. So
Yeah.
it like changes up, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a totally different place that it goes. Finding that way to has been super it has honestly helped all my processes so much. I've been going back, I've been adding to old songs like that of course I've had for like probably 5 years almost. Just like in the pocket. Just not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
But so I'm going back to things like that. The new stuff I've been writing has been really cool, just being able to write words and the lines are making sense and the flow is switching up. And
Good.
so yeah,
That's awesome, man. It's interesting that hearing you talk about it, because the way that I fell into songwriting initially, and for the first like couple albums of O Sleeper's career, was like writing blocks. I'd have a big old writing block, and then I'd pretty much just lay it over the song. And that's why there's a lot of, especially on earlier albums, there's a lot of very linear songs where like nothing repeats, or like weird syllable structures and fitting words in, like kind of dancing around the rhythms and stuff like that, because I was pretty much just taking a clear idea, exactly what I wanted to say, and then just morphing it into a way where it would fit onto the song. Well, then there ends up being a lot of leftover writing that doesn't make it into the song, because I'll have to go in and trim and everything like that, kind of like deducing your song down with a word count. Like you write your whole idea out, and then as you try to fit it into the word count, it kind of turns into it loses some flares, but it also gains some punch. But now on the past 2 albums, or past 3 albums, I've progressively gotten more and more to what I think about as more efficient songwriting, where I don't really have anything left over. I'm only writing exactly what's going to go there and what's going to fit. But it's also started to create a lot of writer's block for me, because I've now started to rest totally on what is going to sound good in this song rather than what am I trying to say in this song.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to get back to a more authentic writing space, a more raw and authentic writing space, where I'm not thinking about, okay, this is going to be a really heavy song it's got to pick up on this part that's going to be like, bah, 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 and then I got to have a badass part right here, and then I need a soaring chorus, and it's like I want to throw all that out the window. I just
I
want to
can
free up
not
my creativity.
imagine writing music with other people.
Oh,
It sounds like, because I'll start a song and it's just like, I think it's like a sad love song, and then like halfway through there's just like an intense like anger chorus, and then like a different kind of bridge, and it's like, this is not the song that it was supposed to be at all. But I can just be happy changing that up in any way I want on the fly. I can't imagine having other like preferences to work around in terms of just the vibe of the song in general. Like,
right.
it's crazy.
That helps. Like Shane and I are musical writing buddies, and over the years have settled into our roles there, to where now it's like our individual spaces feel totally our own. And if I gotta switch something up, then it's rare that we switch it up on each other. But if he says like, "Hey, I really think it should go this way," I don't even question it anymore. I'm like, "Okay, we'll figure it out."
That makes sense. That makes sense. It would work out.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say was, that's a good exercise of breaking writer's block, and I think that in priming that conversation mechanism in your head for your creativity, to switch it up every once in a while, and like if you always write like in block form and then just kind of work your idea over the song, a song idea, then switch it and write exactly precisely to the song idea, and then switch back. But like, I think obviously the most effective way would be able to is when you find the sweet zone between the two. Your idea and message is unhindered, but at the same time you're very efficient in your writing, and your brain is grabbing just what's going to fit into those puzzle pieces from this pool of focused of focused message, so that kid with the paint bucket is very specific on the at least a few colors that he's throwing against the wall.
Yeah, and that's an interesting way to describe it, because that is like in the past I've had different levels of efficiency of being able to handle that process, writing something that is immediately fitting the tone, or whether it's going to have to be edited down from my raw experience, and that was one of the things that was so crazy about this time. Like hearing you talk about it like that, like it was the kid being really efficient with the paint, like those ideas that were coming to me like this past week. It was just like, it would be a whole I would just go through like 3 lines, and there's like, would just be perfect lines in the rhythm of the song, but it's just like exactly what I wanted to say in the most simple, just like wording.
Yes.
And it's like, getting to that place. And I mean, like, to be honest, like that was one night that I was supposed to be writing my story for this podcast. I was supposed to be writing my challenge, and I just ended up procrastinating from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. just writing, like with a Word document open, just sitting at my desk right here, at just all through the night, just waiting for ideas to come to me so that I could try to grab them. And like,
that's so cool.
It happened, and like I knew that something special was happening that night. And since then, I haven't had another time totally like that. I've been trying to finish the song, and obviously the refining portion, that like I got out a bunch of raw material that night, and since then I've just been trying to fit in the last few pieces, which is always going to be the hardest part, because it's like, the rest of the puzzle is so certain at this point, and like
the pieces needed are very specific.
Exactly. And so it's sort of finally come out of the place where I can really just write what I want to write. And it's like, I have to connect the dots from A to B to get this chorus, to get this verse to this pre-chorus, and for it to make sense.
Yeah.
So that I have to do something specific. And so now I have all these little, like, real little puzzle challenges with it that I've been working on. And I mean, I am hoping to have the song finished and recorded and released in January.
Oh man, hell yeah, it's coming up. Well, dude, I want to congratulate you and or applaud you for putting down the Right Guys challenge and hopping over to something else, because that and I want to encourage everybody to do that. If you have a project you're working on and you're getting like and you start getting ideas for it while you're working on a challenge for this, hop over to it, because the whole point of this is to get those juices flowing on your other projects. Like, write here so that you can write over there, and then as soon as that inspiration comes, hop on it.
Yeah,
and that's awesome.
And for me, it's like a lot of the times procrastinating really helps. Like the fact that there was something that I was avoiding doing made it so much easier for me to stay focused on what I was doing that night.
Yeah.
Like, knowing that there was
you're
something
doing it for a purpose, kind of. You're not
well,
just...
knowing that there's something that I'm getting out of that I'm not like, it's like if I just were to stop, then there's this other pressing thing that I have to do. So I can't really just stop.
Yeah.
I can I have an excuse to keep going, kind of.
I hear that. Man, the way that you're talking about that song right now and those last little puzzle pieces is how I felt about the entire new O Sleeper album. Like, I have not known, like the puzzle pieces of an album for us is so freaking specific now. When you talk about linking multiple albums together in concept and everything. And
are you talking about one that you're writing right now, or the last one that was released?
No, the one that I'm writing right now.
Okay.
That we're writing right now. I've been a bottleneck in it because it's the story is so specific and the characters are so specific, and certain things in the last album happen to those characters that you can't come back from. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, how do I know that I want to continue the concept. I know that I want this next album to be a continuation of, Titan EP to Bloodied Unbowed to this. And maybe this will end that concept just like Children of Fire did for Son of the Morning. But now the other big piece is, so I've got this story that's got to continue, and I'm looking at like Sanderson and his Avalanches and stuff. I'm like, I made these huge moments on that album that I'm very proud of, but now I need to make bigger moments and different moments, on this one. That at the same time, I really want to be true to what writing this music is to me, which is a huge outlet and a way for me to know myself better, and a way for me to get my heart onto paper so that I can know it better. And I can, there's huge closure to these songs whenever I finish them, mm-hmm. because I have so much of myself tied into it. And since we released Bloodied Unbowed, life has been absolutely crazy and so different than anything I'm used to. And there's been so many life events. Like, I feel like I've lived like 10 years in the past 3 years. And it's like, how do I stay true? I want to be true to that, but I need to fit that over a very specific storyline with characters I don't even know yet. Like, what's it? So it's just been like, I feel like I'm at that puzzle piece moment, but ultimately what I feel like I need to do is kind of in the way we were talking about, like you get caught up on trying to match your rhythms with your melodies and what's going to be the perfect word for this and the coolest way to say this, when it's like, maybe you should just forget all that and just write what's on your heart. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's what's kind of started to get juices flowing again. I'm like, okay, what if I didn't match anything? Let me just get writing. Let me get out what I need to see. And then maybe when I'm looking at it, it will look like a character that,
I would say start saying what you want to say and see if the variables you have to change around that to make it work don't end up being the variables you had to change anyway because they weren't working.
Yeah, very true. Like, I'm hung up on this one song. I think Shane sent it to me 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe 2 years. Give myself a little bit of credit, but he's gonna text me tomorrow or something whenever he hears this, and he's gonna be like, "It's been 3 years, dude." But I got it. I loved it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be so sick." And then I immediately thought of like the most badass one liner for the breakdown, for like the part, right? And I've written songs like this before, like for example, Vices Like Vipers. The first thing I thought about in that song was the title. The second thing I thought about was the second idea I had for it was bump bump when I am God bump. This church is on bump bump when I am God. And I did that. I was in traffic like drumming on my steering wheel when I did. And then I was like, okay, that's sick. That's going to be it. What the hell is this song? It's Vices Like Vipers, When I Am God, This Church is Unsound. Those are the two puzzle pieces I had that I knew I wanted to keep. So then I had to write a song around that made both of those ideas make sense.
Yeah.
Like I came up with this I came up with a song name and the first and the main breakdown in this one. Same exact way as Vices Like Vipers. And I've been sitting on them for 2 years because I'm like, I don't know what this song's about. I don't know how it's going to, what story does this follow? How does this relate to me? Like, but it's got to be this.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's awesome. No, it's so crazy hearing you talk, because not only is Vices Like Vipers like so iconic in my life, but also like that's like exactly how I write and something that has happened to me.
Really?
Yeah. So
you think about those one-liners like,
dude,
and then you're like,
yeah,
oh,
no, that's
shit, how do I do
how I
this?
start pretty much every song that I've written is like just a one-liner, and then like,
Oh, yeah.
so it's what I've actually described before on Right Guys. It's sort of my art process with everything, like drawing, whether it's writing a song, writing a book. Like it's starting with, I just have one idea that I think is really cool, and I just start in the middle. And so with a song, usually it's just like, I have a hook that would come at the end of a chorus, or like I said before, the beginning of a chorus line. I usually think is easiest to come up with. Usually it's something in the chorus, whether the iconic hook thing is sort of like the post chorus or right at the beginning, whatever that is, comes to my head, and then I'm like, I have to build a song around this idea.
Yeah.
And then the whole song gets built around it. Like this one, I came up, your roots are too deep in me, when I was like a kid, and I was like, that's a good little line.
That's
for a
good.
song.
That's got some weight to it.
And
like, what's going
so
on there?
Yeah, it's just at the end of a chorus, and like, so it's just like I built the chorus to end on that. Like I thought backwards lines that would like lead to that one at a time.
Dude, that is my process. 100%. Start out in the middle and then I build left to right. Like I rarely write the very first opening lines of a song. I normally write the first verse at the end, or like the opening, whatever. Like whenever I'm finished, I'm like, okay, so what would make most sense to write this?
It's almost always like the second line of something. I'll be in the middle, like when I was doing the Ballad of Baxton Reed and the Drowned Quartet for the Titanic story.
Yeah,
I was just writing a random part, and it was just like, what better end to two best friends than soundtracking their doom, which is like a random line in there. Then I was just like, and I stopped and I went back and I was like, that line is the main thing.
That's it.
In the whole poem. We're building up to that line the whole time. So like I just took that from where it was and like stuck it at the end.
Yeah.
And it was like that for a few lines, and that happens like to me constantly with everything that I do. I'll find like the nugget part and have to put it at the center.
Dude, and do you run into this too, where like say like on a first verse, you're like, God, this first verse bangs, like this thing is sick, like it just goes so perfectly, and you get to second verse and you're like, I'm not gonna top that, but it would not make sense for there to be a verse before that either, like.
Yeah,
like that, and then they just slam into the writing block.
I kind of had that problem with my current song, like the one that just kind of flowed out of me. It's like I feel like the first verse might be more devastating than the others, and it's like, does it just get like less intense as the song goes on? It just like becomes more mid. Like that's not cool.
Yeah,
so like
no.
like
it needs to go up, and you need to go
I've had
like
to
rise
find
and fall.
ways to like create that emotional weight or balance it throughout the song.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh man, it just in the lab, dude.
Yeah,
At that
it's fun.
workbench. It is.
It's really fun to be like back at it and feel like I'm successfully like creating things again,
Yeah.
because then it's that, but then like I said, also being able to go back to all these old songs, and like it's mainly that one problem I was having, dude, that the problem of changing up flow from line 1 to line 2, or line 2 to line 3, or whatever it is, like that moment where in I would identify so often in my music, the line would sort of just start like repeating a motif, or it would become very stale, where it's like, oh, you can tell it's really now just trailing off in patterns based on what happened before.
Mm-hmm.
And like it stops kind of introducing new ideas, and just the epiphanies around that. I mean, like there was the one epiphany about just writing what's on your mind. Another one was rhyming in unpredictable places. Like find words that rhyme that you can put right next to each other. Like or find words that are only 2 words apart, or like create your own rhythm of doing like 3 syllables that kind of rhyme, and then waiting 3 syllables, then doing 3 syllables that kind of rhyme again. Like you think of rhymes just as A, B, the last word of each line, but really rhyming is just patterns. So it's like a word being at the end of the line is a given pattern, and you could really put in random rhymes throughout, and it might not feel like rhyming if it's not in any particular pattern that makes sense to the ear. But like if you can find any, and if even if you put them in randomly, a lot of the times it will happen randomly, that there's some pattern in there. And
well, now the or not now, but also pronunciation can be your rhyme. Like that's something that I find a lot and flirt with a lot when going with like the lyric block idea that you just morph over the song, where it's like you get to an end and like 2 words that don't rhyme at all, but you just kind of make them rhyme. But
you
also
totally,
like in pop and hip hop and like that can like saying a word to rhyme a way that it doesn't can end up being like the catchiest part of the song. Like it sticks in your mind. It's fun. It sparks you for some reason, and then it also has the opportunity to turn into like a new slang. You know, you're kind of like inventing.
Yeah,
which is fun.
Yeah, and this isn't only just to say like, oh, there are ways to get around having to do like A B rhymes. This is like, this can like the way this helps me is like this actually creates new like melodies and rhythms, because once you start, it's like sometimes you hear rappers flow, and I wonder like, why does it sound like it has flow if they're hitting every 16th note? Like if they're just rapping on gotta be the one to bite the bullet, I'm a sinner but I bet I could have been a better man, then that's just syllable. It's just one after the other. But there is a pattern, and that's built by the rhyme scheme, the letter scheme, the consonants, like the way that the words are hitting, but mainly the rhymes.
Yeah, and that's how they push pull, how they wait, how they go in.
Like different vowels have different feels to them. So like the deeper vowels having different rhyme feel than the lighter ones, and like so really playing with that, and like when they do it in rap, it becomes incredibly technical with the level of patterns that start to emerge between the words. And so I've started writing in a way that's a lot less reliant on an A B end of line rhyme structure, and just tried to just be rhyming inside of lines constantly. It also takes off a lot of times the pressure to build those longer form rhymes at all, because your brain's not necessarily waiting for those to even line up if it's seeing smaller patterns.
And I think the A B is always going to be the low fruit that your brain is procking. So if you get used to just always like jumping on like twisting new rhymes in there and everything like that, those A Bs are going to be there for you to grab, because they're going to be forming while you're working on it.
Yeah, and and to tie it up, that was just like that helped me to start building new rhythm patterns, like really well, more like a lot more than I would have been able to do just doing A B. where that is priming you to then be really continuing a particular meter. Because you want to hit those moments where the patterns are aligning, so you want the meter to be the same, or else it sounds discombobulated. But when you have more technical flow and rhymes happening mid sentence, you just get so many cool sounding rhythms come off of that. That, like I made the point before with when a rapper hits every 16th note, it's like it could be so similar, but just having the slight accents in different places just ends up creating a different rhythm that's just much more interesting musically.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, what has been on my mind is actually part of the topic that we talked about doing today, which is resolutions. So obviously New Year's resolution. And what my actually Shane's wife was a person who Allie was a person who introduced this idea to me. God, it's been years now, but she was like, "Yeah, I don't do New Year's resolutions. I pick a word that I apply to everything I do, that I want to apply to everything I do in the next year." And I was like, wow, I like that a lot. So I started practicing that, and it has been hugely impactful on my life. Like, for example, one year I chose forward as my word, and I just wanted to push everything that was going on in my life forward. I felt like I had been stagnant. I just want to go forward. So I proposed to my wife. I moved out of the house I was living in, bought my first house. Made just a bunch of big moves. But I was like forward. Then last year was present. I wanted to really focus on being present, and I got into meditation here and there. Books that I chose were about being more present, and I tried to be more just present in social scenes too, and eliminate things that are distracting to me, that keep me removed. But this year, I decided my word this year is intentional. I want everything that I feel. I've been feeling a bit adrift, and I want, and I have a lot of very special things on my plate, projects that are very dear to my heart, and this being one of them. But in order for me to bring the attention that they all deserve, I need to be very intentional with my time. So, and like, if I'm gonna do something, be there for it, prep for it. Like even, and it's already started to sink into my days. Even going into work, which, my 9 to 5, as it were, is commercial construction. So, I'm in an office, running projects and stuff like that. It's very easy for me it's so far from who I am and from anything that I would have chosen. I just kind of found myself there. That it's really easy for me to just kind of turn myself off and then just go into like worker admin mode. And I don't ever want to live that way. Like I would never want to die on a day that I was doing that, because I wouldn't be being me. And so thinking about like I was thinking about when I was walking in, I walked into my office today, sat down, and I was like, intentional. How can I be intentional with this time at the office right now? And okay, and it just kind of brought me into the moment really well. And thinking about sitting down for this, just like, how can I be intentional on this? And I took extra time to read submissions, to read my story just a couple times over, so it wasn't like I was reading them for the first time while we go over it. So I feel more present, and I'm not just like, because I have dyslexia, and so it's very hard for me to read just something for the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I want to be intentional with my friendships. I'm a social butterfly, so I will spend all of my time hanging out with like a million different friend groups and not water the ones that mean the most to me. Uh, and so I want to be intentional with the time. I want to be intentional with my marriage and um, time spent with my wife. And yeah, so that's been on my mind lately, is how to be more intentional with everything I'm doing, whether
That's
it's
cool.
something small or cleaning, like cleaning the garage yesterday. Like I want to be intentional with this. I don't want to just try to burn through it. Like I want to be here. Let me put some thought into this. Yeah.
My word would be smash it.
Smash it. Would you like to be more of a smash it or less of a smash it?
Just like
I would
thinking
prefer it
about
if
the
you
word.
had toned down the smash it a
That
bit.
smash it knob needs to get. Well, how many years have you been doing that though?
Okay, so 8 years.
Can you name?
Yeah, 8 years.
Can you name them all?
I can't. Not off the top of my head. I could if I
Give me a
really
couple
sat there.
others that you've gone with.
Okay, so there was forward, create, um, uh, present. I said one of them. Oh, production was one where I had a lot of ideas, but I wasn't putting in any chair time,
Yeah.
so to speak, on any of them. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I've done the idea side of this. I need to do some production. I need to like actually get in and do the nitty gritty on everything. And I thought about that. Like I said, applying this not just to writing, but applying this to everything in your life. Like thinking of a word that would fit well and get you where you want to be
Yeah.
next year. But yeah, those are just a few of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to try to think of one. I might try
Yeah.
to think of one by next episode. We'll see. It's a
Have
good
you had
idea.
any? Oh yeah, good, we'll give Allie those props. Good
Oh
idea,
yeah,
Allie.
for
Thank you.
sure.
Changed my life.
Props to Allie. We love you, Allie.
We love you, Allie.
I've never liked New Year's resolutions though. I've never
Really?
never participated. I mean, like it's just something I don't believe in. Like I straight up like no
What's
like
not to believe in?
that ever just saying something is a resolution is really meaningful. Like if it's a resolution, I don't need to say it.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's just like
So you have resolutions.
well,
They're
like
just-
who
they're-
doesn't?
they're-
Like yeah,
they're
I'm a
within you.
living being. I have things
Yeah.
I've decided on.
That's why you can't not believe in resolutions.
Yeah,
Like you just
yeah.
have them. You exist.
But I don't. But as a concept, like to think of when I interrogate whether a New Year's resolution would be a helpful thing for me, I oftentimes come up totally blank on like I don't think that variable or that factor has literally any weight of whether or not on a holiday I said it aloud.
Oh no.
To me-
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's
to me,
just
it's like,
kind of like a focusing point for me at least. I get excited about tradition anyway, but like thinking about like, oh, New Year's is coming up. I haven't thought about what my resolution is going to be, and then like for the next 2 weeks, I'll really focus about what have I learned in life this year, and what do I want to take with me? What do I not want to take with me? What do I want 2022 to look like? And it's a really good it's a good practice for me at least, like just being intentionally reflective.
yeah.
Yeah. If I mean, you've mentioned a couple to me where I mean, I guess resolution in this sense could be goal. That they're often used in the same way.
It's really
But
just the idea of it being New Year's resolution. Like the fact that like
if you don't pop champagne, it doesn't happen.
I have resolutions. Like when we were hanging out, I know I had a resolution that I was going to record one of my songs really soon when I got home from our time in Texas. And I did. Like that was like a resolution that my mind was on, and it worked. And it wasn't like I think that the idea that every year you should be resolving to change in some way, I take issue with that as well. Like I get like everyone maybe should try to grow, but like I don't think that there should be an expectation that I don't know. Anyway, it's just it's just another thing for me to complain about. It's literally just me trying to find something that everyone likes so that I cannot like it, and then
everyone likes this whole
upset.
like
Yeah.
everyone likes this whole like bettering themselves, but I don't know if
I want
everyone needs
try to find the most convoluted way to disagree with the concept overall that I can. It's quite like
no
a segment
goals,
that we
no revelations, no anything.
it's quite like a segment that we workshopped when we were initially coming up with segments. Pointless argument.
Oh yeah, I still want to do that.
Because I feel like this is a good candidate for a pointless
This is a
argument.
good candidate. Self growth, nah. Nah, I don't know. I don't really see the point in it. Achieving goals. Not
But I'm
sold
just
on
saying, doing it on the holiday is
No,
pointless, which is dumb to say. I'm making
Okay,
a dumb.
yes,
Over.
It's because the next year's about to start. That's why you do it. Is you're
But,
like, okay, it's about to start.
But
Literally
years
tomorrow
aren't even
is the
real.
next year.
But years aren't real.
So, what we wanted to obviously, I have a very deep resolution. Ben has none. He's strongly against them. He doesn't want to do anything or grow at all this year. No goals. Hashtag. But what we were talking about when getting ready for this episode was how, resolution, it definitely ties into storytelling because your story is going to resolve and different ways to resolve a story. And I just kind of wanted to kick the ball back and forth with you on that for a second.
It's for me, it's exactly the same. I don't like them. I like when a
Stories end. Do they have to? I don't know.
No, dude. You look at the 3-act structure. I'm actually being serious.
Okay, let's go.
You've seen Top Gun?
I'm an American, so yes.
I actually don't know if I have. That's the one where he's in an airplane, right? It's a dogfighting movie. Okay,
yeah,
I have seen it.
The perfect description for Top Gun is he's in an airplane.
Yeah. Okay. At the end of the movie, there's like this 15-minute montage of him basically being cheered on while he shakes everyone's hand in America. It's like, it's just this, it's the most like masturbatory, like the hero has completed his mission and now accolades.
Yes,
and
lay it on him.
And peaceful times of merriment and look how heroic.
Right.
And it to me is like the most quintessential example of what I hate about resolutions, where it's like just the most obvious thing where like you just feel like you're not even watching anything anymore. And
it's the
there's
victory
music.
lap.
There's a soundtrack.
Why have a victory lap type thing?
Yeah,
because that's pretty much what it is. In that regard.
Yeah, exactly. Like totally, there are times that resolutions provide new information, shed light on a character or a situation. There are resolutions that have twists, and that it doesn't necessarily break the formula. That's still a resolution. But
I got a question for you. So in the same vein as Top Gun, and like the end sequence, which I haven't seen in a long time, and that's vaguely familiar. I'm going to take your word for it, but like let's say like Lord of the Rings, for example, when it ends and you've got like hobbits jumping into bed and having a pillow fight and everything, and like it zooms out and Aragorn is king and all that, and like it's all of that is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a victory lap. Like the story's over.
Yeah.
It's just kind of letting you know. It's kind of letting you have that breath of like, oh, we did it.
Yeah. I mean,
do you like it in that sense, or
look,
do you think it's not
like,
necessary at all?
Here's what I'll say: a resolution, like it's still a part of the world and story, and any part of a story can be satisfying to readers who are enjoying the world that they're in. And it's sort of like, to me, Lord of the Rings is like, you just set me up on like a 10-hour intense like roller coaster with like the most extreme depths of like moral quandary, violence, like extreme situations around different like um different like lands coming together, different like entire people groups coming together and chat. Like the whole world is like broken and
Yeah.
re-put together. And so like to me on the scope of that, getting dropped into like a 20-minute like, oh, this is how it wrapped up. It to me in Lord of the Rings, it feels almost necessary, and like it doesn't bother me at all because I'm so in love with the world and characters at that point that I'm just like loving living in it and
Okay.
being
Yeah.
there. Like
I agree.
it is like that same thing where it's almost like masturbatory of like you feel like they're just really like drawing out because like they really want their thing to end, but it's like they get to do that. Like they
Yeah.
get it. Like
Well,
like any masterpiece can masturbate, right? That's part of
yeah.
their saying. That's why they
Well, yeah, I guess you want to see a masterpiece masturbate.
yeah, basically. Like exactly though. Like you
Yeah.
want to see Lord of the Rings doing whatever it wants to do for as long as it wants to do it. It's like
Well,
and
I think the point there, which I totally agree on, is that victory laps should be earned.
oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, you have to actually achieve victory, then you get to have a lap.
and that man, that's fun to like to think about, like to unpack further, even
Yeah.
of like, well, how do you earn a victory lap? What's the least you could do to earn a victory
Totally.
lap?
That
You
is
know?
now my new rubric for story writing is did I earn a resolution? And if
Yeah.
not, then the story's not good enough.
Did I
Yeah.
take a lap? Can I take a
No,
lap?
that I feel like that is very apt.
That's cool. I like that a lot too.
And it pulls me my own writing into so much question because I always feel resolutions would be so dumb. Like I so often end stories just that like the climax gets the most intense part, the big thing happens, and then like you just
write
see
out.
like there'll be like you see how it shakes out, but it's not like a whole part.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, so in this, you know, it seems like we're talking mainly about like story endings that do resolve completely, but really like resolving a story, or just story endings in general. There's a ton of different ways to do it, and I was like just to toss them back and forth. I went on the masterclass website and was checking out their creative writing stuff on there, and I grabbed a few that I'd like to share. Yeah, so a resolved ending is basically what we were talking about, and that's like the way that they described it on there. They said a resolved ending leaves the reader with no lingering questions or loose ends. A resolved ending is part of most classic fairy tales, and they lived happily ever after, but also of countless classic novels. Consider the ending of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, a classic literary fiction and the inspiration for countless romance novels. At the end of the book, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy marry, and we're led to believe that their marriage will be long and happy. So what matters most is in a resolved ending is that all of the threads of the novel have been clearly and satisfyingly resolved. And that's like, that honestly is like my least favorite, like a resolved ending. But anywhere in this in the world of creativity, whether it be like genres of music or something like that, whenever I find something that I'm like, it's my least favorite, it's because I don't understand it that much, and it just
Yeah.
means I should focus on it and maybe try it.
to me that variable I totally I both like and dislike stories like that. Like it's like that's like a you can totally to me do that either way really well with a resolution.
Yeah.
I'm yeah, but go on.
Okay. So the counterpart to that, we've got an unresolved ending, and they describe this one, and this is one of my favorites. But sometimes the end is not really the end. That's the case with an unresolved ending. This is the kind of ending that leaves the reader with more questions than answers. Ending on a cliffhanger has the potential to be a frustrating experience, but that frustration can also be satisfying if the story calls for it. Unresolved endings are popular choices for book series because it leads the reader to the next book. For example, unresolved endings are common devices used in Harry Potter. You know, but also unresolved endings are like I was reading on Unresolved Endings, and they were talking about the movie Drive. Are you familiar with it?
I did see it once. Don't
Well,
remember exactly, but
it did it. I liked it a lot. Like I like endings that I'm like, wait, what the? And then I had to kind of like I think about it for a few days and then see like what makes sense to me. But it's very ambiguous. Like he gets, and spoiler alert, skip 15 seconds or 30 seconds on the podcast if you haven't seen it. But he gets pretty messed up and then drives off. And you don't. There's all this stuff that you don't know what happened, but the way and the dramatic, like how dramatic it is and everything, and the artfulness of the film, I think makes it work. Where it doesn't feel like he almost feels like to me a like a comic book character that shouldn't be able to die. And so like him kind of riding off in the sunset injured makes sense because it's like, okay, he got away, did he? Sure he did. He had to have. I don't know though. Like kind of not showing his more immortality makes all the scenes before it more important, but giving a glimpse of, oh, maybe he's still alive, and then it's like, well, shit, he can get through anything, kind of makes the story even more like crazy.
yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of that final nail in the coffin.
yeah.
That was cool. To breeze through the other ones on here, it said, so then you've got your expanded endings. An expanded ending often takes the form of an epilogue. As the name implies, it expands the world of the story beyond the events of the narrative itself. That usually involves a jump forward in time and occasionally a change in perspective as well. Then you've got an unexpected ending, surprise ending, is one the reader likely didn't see coming. Twist ending can be earth-shattering or clever and subtle. The trick of pulling off a great surprise is that it should seem inevitable in hindsight. Very few readers are likely to be on board for an ending that seems to truly come from nowhere. But if the ending makes sense, they're more likely to appreciate the subtle machinations and plot twists it took to get there. Now, in this, so it mentioned a really cool mechanic that I've never had a word for, and it goes on. And it says, "A good ending avoids Deus ex machina." Have you ever heard that expression for writing?
Yeah.
Okay, I know what it means, but I never heard it in this sense. But it says, a Latin expression meaning God from a machine. In the context of fiction, a deus ex machina is a heavy-handed device that abruptly and definitively resolves all the story's problems in a way that doesn't feel natural to the story. So, like for instance, a previously unknown rich uncle appearing from nowhere to give the poor, striving protagonist a vast fortune may certainly be a surprise, but it's not likely to satisfy the reader.
We
I
as
love.
writers, we know
Oh,
these
sorry.
moments where we write ourselves into corners trying to knowing like, oh, I'm going to see how my character is going to get out of this one, You
Yeah.
surround him with guards. He's got nothing in his pockets. He's just getting more and more dire, like backs against the wall. And then you get there, then you're like, I thought I was going to be able to think of a way out, but actually I can't. And your brain will
He's
start
gonna
to try to
die
come
or-
up with like these fake solutions. That's Deus Ex Machina. It's like that all those solutions that are like totally unearned that you did not set up. They're not something that can be that your character can't achieve them. There's no real satisfying way for them to feel earned. It's just something to get you out of a situation or like to save you.
Yeah, I love that there's a word for that, and I love that it's Deus Ex Machina, and I think it works so well. But yeah, it's this device, this
Yeah.
literary device that It is. It can be very tempting, and you can get in personality types like mine and yours. For anybody who's on the Enneagram, where you're talking to a 7 and a 3 here, it's very easy for me to think that my ideas are incredible, even if they're the far-fetched ones that I'm like, oh wait, this will also get me out of a pinch. Oh, this is a really good idea. But I like the idea that it should come. It's a really good, a really simple way to put it, that the trick to pulling off a great surprise is that it should seem inevitable in hindsight. So at the end of the movie, you should be able to look back and be like, oh, well, that's the only way it would have, you know? And those are the good ones. If you can keep that, if you can hide it from them.
Yeah.
There's 2 more. Unless you got anything else on that unexpected ending.
I was going to say something, but I think it was just mainly going to be repeating things I've already said, so you can go on.
All right, so we got an ambiguous ending, one that's open to interpretation. While an unresolved ending doesn't give the reader enough information to say what's going to happen next, and an ambiguous ending might allow 2 different readers to come to 2 completely different conclusions. Of all the endings, the ambiguous one demands the most involvement from the reader, since they are actively invited to think about the significance of events for themselves.
I love a mix of that technique in the previous one, where there's a twist to find and there's a way to understand the story that's like a basic way to understand the story. But then there's if you do think about it, it's ambiguous enough. Then if you do think about it, the clues are there that you can figure out for yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm having trouble differentiating the difference between unexpected or I guess unresolved and ambiguous. Like, can you break those? What do you think?
Well, like unresolved would just mean there's like a thread that didn't get like wait, but didn't his brother die in the first part? They never explain why his brother died. So that just like happened. That's unresolved. An ambiguous ending is like you see him pick up the poison, but you never see him if he actually put it in either of the 2 cups.
Okay.
And so like there's something set up that you can then complete as a reader in your head.
Yes.
And it's like part of the story was that setup thing happening, you know?
So like Inception would be ambiguous.
Yes, definitely.
Not unresolved.
Like you could say there are probably some things that are unresolved. It's a big movie. I think with any movie they're going to be combining a lot of these, but like mainly, yeah, the thing with the top, though. The thing with the top was definitely I would say you could judge by each element probably individually. Like you might be able to look and say like, well, there's unresolved stuff with like the government he was like fighting at the beginning. I don't even remember what's going on at the beginning. He's interfacing with like the Chinese government or something.
No, that makes that totally answers it for me. Okay, and one last one that they're mentioning here. There's tons of different endings. This is just like 6 basic ones, but a tied ending. A tied ending is one that brings the whole story full circle. It ends where it begins. This type of ending follows the classic hero's journey, which is common to many myths and folk tales from around the world, but it's also a popular choice for many works of literary fiction trying to capture the cyclical nature of time. Let's see here. As a writer, you'll need to make sure that the journey to this point felt worthwhile. Ending up right where you started can feel pointless if the journey there and back wasn't meaningful. That makes a lot of sense. It's more about it's journey before destination, and the whole thing is about the journey, not really where you're going. That's cool. So with this, like just thinking about resolutions as literary devices, I think this is a really cool practice that I want to try. Like there are certain endings in here, just in these 6 that we're talking about, that I definitely pigeonhole to. Like I definitely default to, and it's
as a writer.
How I find myself writing there.
So what do you find? Like, Because I feel like with the resolution, it's so far along in the story that your hands aren't on the reins at that point. Like, I feel like I can't control what type of resolution is going to happen because this I can't control my whole story to an extent. Like once it starts coming out, it's like, oh yeah, this is going to be kind of an unresolved one because there's all these side elements that you don't know. But in your experience, would you say it's more like a choice, or would you say you find yourself being railroaded into them?
And I don't know if it's because it's the type of stuff that I'm currently writing, but I find like I keep going to unresolved like cliffhanger. But I'm also working on I'm working on a 10-part children's book series right now. I'm working on a comic book series. I'm working on an album that that is a story in itself. So that's 10 songs, 10 chapters on an album, and they're all like lead into something. So whenever I end, I want to like leave a little something there. But I just seeing these and like talking about them, it makes me I kind of want to take one and be like, okay, I want to write a tied ending. And so like before I even start the story, I know I'm going to start back where I began. And then just see like what kind of story that would come out of that. That'd be a fun writing challenge, honestly.
Well, we should think about ways to, because we can't just have people writing resolutions, right? Like you need a story to set up a resolution, and then like with the length of our stories, you never have time to write a resolution, and so it's like I don't know how
we
long.
Blow the walls off that word count.
yeah. But there might be some ways to replicate some of those things. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Take some of those ideas, turn them into challenges.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a little tidbit on resolutions. How do you feel? You feel like you got anything else you want to toss on this or bounce on before hopping to? I mean, I've got this dusty defibrillator box.
I have something to talk about that's totally unrelated to anything else.
Okay.
It's just a bone I've been chewing on for like 10 or so years. It has to do with writing in English. That's
a big bone. Pass me that bad boy.
Kind of one of the main like hills that I'm prepared to die on in my life.
Awesome.
And I think it's just about time that I bring it up on the podcast and we talk about it. The conversation topic itself, I call the argument. That's what you're about to experience is the argument. And that's spelled just THE space. And then just the first letter is R, and then the rest is spelled normally. But you can tell exactly what it's saying because the letter R, for all intents and purposes, is a vowel. And that's what the argument is. The letter R is a vowel.
R.
Make this sound.
Dark, arc.
Think about what a vowel is versus a consonant.
Yeah, it's ER is how you say it.
Well, you can just say R. You could just say
Right. Which
that's without an
E. ER.
No, your brain is putting an E in there because you've been indoctrinated by the English language. But listen to me, you're just making an R sound when you say that you're saying ER. There's only one sound that you're making. It's not changing over time.
Okay.
So what English did to you is it told you that that E is the vowel and that R is like this fake, like a consonant that just adds a flavor to it. But every time R actually exists, it creates its own entire vowel. And sometimes it's a diphthong, which means when there's two vowels next to each other, they like flow through each other, and that's normal, like intuitive, there's two intuit. That's a diphthong. That's normal. Okay. So saying that the word right, R-I-G-H-T, or right, guys. There's I. There's just two sounds next to each other. Dude, think about how simple the English language could be if curse was spelled C-R-S and hearse was spelled H-R-S. So the letter, every single word that R is in, some vowel could be like, or it could at least be considered a vowel. Whereas if you think about the mouth properties that make something a vowel, a plosive creates a consonant, right? When your mouth is creating a transient, like attack moment, That's
Say
a
it
consonant.
again. Plosive.
A plosive, yeah, plosives.
What is plosive? Is
you
that
can
what
you
that
can
means?
hear 'em- you can hear them if I do
Plosive?
this. You're gonna hear all my plosives.
Okay.
So plosives are what these block. They're like
That's an actual word. Is
yes.
plosive?
Yeah.
All right.
So
Learned
it's
a new
like
thing.
it's they're
Makes
parts
sense.
of speech that create basically air coming out of your mouth sharply.
Okay.
So a point in time where you're holding up air, like when I say p, my mouth's like building up air and then releasing it. I think that's a plosive. But is a sonorant. It's just your mouth, using your mouth as a chamber to create a noise, and then it's just a constant noise, and it's just a resonant sound that you can make continually, and there's no hit.
Damn, dude. I did not see this going there. That is a very good point. It should be a vowel.
Fucking crazy.
It should be a vowel.
Crazy.
Wait, so is
Like
there any,
what's
so-
happening in our country?
You've been shooting. Well, what happened? Because this has been around
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
So okay, hold up. Now, I need to do some research. So, like going back into like Latin and like the Latin alphabet is shorter than the American alphabet, not the American English. Sorry, but I'm trying to think about R. I'm trying to think
R
about
is
when,
like, I
when did
think
they decide that R was? Well, when did we decide what?
I think R
vowels
is one of
were?
the newest sounds. I think it's one of the newer like mouth
Letters?
noises in the human like psyche
Oh,
or whatever. It's like
happened
a
later.
lot of older languages don't have the R sound. Like R is usually when people have to learn English for the first time, a lot of people have to learn how to make the R shape with their tongue. People from different cultures, because it's not in every language.
Shit, man. So, okay. So after that blowing your mind, and for the past 10 years, as you've wrestled with this alone, which now I think you just earned a new title, Ben Orthy, one who wrestles with R. So what? Like within this, have you come back through the alphabet and it's been like, wait, okay, did we miss any other ones?
Oh yeah,
is there
of
any
course.
other ones?
No,
that should
R's
be?
the only one.
R's is the only one that holds up.
It's a totally unique special case. Like there are other vowel sounds that we don't have letters for, like
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like o. It's often represented like hook, book, look.
Yeah.
But we don't actually have it. But like we create it with other things, and we don't go around saying that there's some letter that's not a vowel that is making that sound.
Yeah,
we don't just have that letter lying around and just claim that it's a consonant.
What the hell is going on? What the hell is going on here?
It's nuts, dude.
I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where to take this. Like,
I know, you're welcome.
Can we take this to like there's some steps that we can take this to, like it's City
Nobody
Hall
listens.
or something? No one listens? God dang it.
So
We got to
defeated.
change things.
Yeah, dude, the argument.
Refine. We need to refine the language.
Isn't that a perfect name for the
I think
argument with the
I like
R?
yeah, that is great. So I'm seeing like some Right Guys. Every once in a while I see like a flash of like Right Guys merch. And I definitely think I see something around
Yeah.
R as a vowel, Right Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely would buy that shirt. Dude.
Yeah. So hey, I want to open this one up. Listeners, go on to the contact page, submit page or whatever on rightguys.org and talk to us about this. Let us know if you currently have a or like you're in college or in high school or whatever, and you have a professor or a teacher that you have access to. Run this one by them. I want to see. I want to hear some chatter on this. I want to see where the
seriously.
hell when did R start? Who came up? What snatch it came up with the idea that it was going to be a vowel? Was that just like or that it was going to be a consonant? Was that just like a lazy day at the office?
I
consonant.
legit I have brought this up to teachers and professors before.
What'd they say?
dude, like no one takes me seriously.
Come on.
It's like no matter how serious people are just like what do you like, it's a consonant, and like you can kind of break it down, but there's a point where you just become a meme, which I can totally accept. Like that's probably
they just keep
the
taking
main
the blue
reason
pill.
I still
That's
do
what they're
this
doing.
is because I think it's funny. The main reason I still talk about it, but like it's like I'm super curious because I think there's going to be a huge spectrum, obviously, because these are individuals who we're talking about.
And there's people who are very like in spaces like this, you find people who are strangely triggered by you suggesting
exactly.
like some like R consonant lovers who are going to be like, no. What?
I brought it up to someone in college who I thought I would be able to have a really great conversation with this around, and their response was just like, I'm an English major. I know that R is in a vowel. And I was like,
wow, that's
okay.
a slam door right there.
I think, yeah.
I really misread this. Man, okay. I feel like when you bring this up to people, it's going to be like Morpheus handing you the red or blue pill.
Yeah.
Because if you take that red pill and you accept this, that does make sense. Things are not going to be the same.
It's hard. It can be difficult.
And it definitely leads to what else did we miss?
Yeah.
And how else should we change this stuff? That's a great one. Well, I'm in on that bone with you now. So you're not alone.
Oh, the other one, I mean, I kind of do. Sometimes I talk about why, sometimes why. Because I don't think Y is only sometimes a vowel. Y is just a vowel. You can't really differentiate it like that because people say like, oh, sometimes it makes a sound like a I, yeah, what, but and then sometimes it's just the y sound, like the it's like a more like
it can also be
yogurt.
like Yvonne.
Yeah,
it can be straight up E.
Yeah, it can
Yvonne.
be, and so people say sometimes Y, but I'm like.
Oh, that is a thing, yeah.
But I'm like, are there
why?
really scenarios like and so I think people will talk about yogurt or like yum, where it's like it feels like it's a consonant because it's like shit gets shaped around another vowel or something. But I want to again just to ask you: is your mouth really making any consonant? Like, are you making any plosives? Are you making any like hard noise, or is it just like a slipping from one resonant sound to another resonant sound? Like
I don't know. Honestly, why is more believable for me. Like I can get behind why never being a vowel.
Never being a vowel. What about an Yvonne?
Well, okay, there. Yeah. But I'm sorry. I can get behind why definitely being a sometimes. I think it can definitely be a consonant. Right. Unlike R, Y, like you can make a Y sound like you can do it, and it doesn't make a sound until you put another. It's kind of what you fall into. Like I'm sitting here making the, like, if I remove voice from it, it still works once I tack on ARD, yard, like it's just a way to fall into the vowel that it's next to.
But wouldn't that be the same if it was spelled with like IARD and someone was pronouncing that yard?
It's like a slide.
Yeah.
It just kind of slides into stuff. But R, like you're right. I mean, you can't say R. R isn't just a mouth shape that you push through. It's a fucking vowel.
It is for sure, and we can have a disagreement about why all day because I don't care.
Let
about
me chew
why.
on it.
I only care about R.
I'm coming in green as a second old on a 10-year thought. So give me
the way you're describing your thought about why is what most people agree with. Like that is the general consensus on the letter.
It's a pushed mouth shape.
That shouldn't be radical to anybody. Like that.
But sometimes Yvonne
Yeah.
definitely a vowel, like
Yeah.
100%.
That's like pretty much canon in the English language. That's what that's what's written. But like I I think that even in Yard, that slide thing, just my argument is that that slide is a vowel too.
Hey, I try this next time that you bring it up to someone that you think is going to receive this well. Start out with common ground. So sometimes why that holds up, right? And then get them talking. Like, yeah, you got this, you got this. Okay, all right, cool. So we definitely agree.
I
How about R?
I like just throwing the grenade though.
Yeah,
Like,
you do.
It's too fun to just, especially because you have the it has a title, the argument.
Yeah, no, that's
kind of
good.
works
It
with
really feels like a thing.
It's like a pointless, totally pointless political movement.
Next guest that we have on, we're throwing the argument out. We're gonna see what they take. I want to figure this out. Like, maybe over the entire year.
Yeah, this could be a thing with all of our guests. They have to participate in our argument.
We'll start something on the we'll start a petition on Right Guys on the site that you can sign to make R a vowel, and hopefully over time we'll get up to a million or whatever you have to do to get something passed. How to change the entire English language? I don't know. Like, hey, who's to say? Hey, if your dreams don't scare you, you ain't dreaming big enough.
I do dream of a day that we just start like, because obviously like language is so set in stone at this point that even if we somehow were able to get R past as a vowel, they wouldn't start like changing the way words are spelled around it, like being more efficient. But I dream of a world where we've got curse just CRS. Dude, I just close my eyes and I go there.
Dude, honestly, in freaking sci-fi, you could open that up. And because once you push forward enough into time where you have intergalactic population and people hopping off planets and starting new worlds and places they discovered, I mean, imagine you hop into your spaceship and you go and so you get a blip on the radar and you're like, what the hell is this? This is an uncharted planet. Oh my God, is this mine now? You land on it, you start a people. And you're like, you get a chance. Okay.
You guys have one shot at this. You better not fuck it up.
Straight. Here's the thing. I'm rewriting all literature you could ever get your hands on. Ours do not need vowels next to them because it already is one. That's good. That's a good stuff.
Well, I'm glad that we've got it introduced. Now that can just kind of be a part of the Right Guys lexicon of topics. And like you said, I'm really interested to be bringing that up to guests. If any listeners want to bring that up to their professors or teachers and let us know how it goes, we're just trying to gather as much data for that as possible before we bring this to the U.S. government later this year.
Yes. And I'm serious about a petition. We need to figure out how to get that on.
Yeah, I think we should do the petition, then merch.
Yeah. R is a vowel, right, guys? Okay. So, hey, I've got this box sitting next to me. It's got some weird looking equipment. And hold on, let me dust off the top. It's kind of military in look. It's kind of a crate. Let me get a crowbar. Oh my God, it's a defibrillator.
Uh-oh.
This can only mean one thing.
Are we going back? Are we getting out our shovels?
We're about to get those shovels out.
We're going back to the cemetery.
Returning to the graveyard, baby. It's time for Dead Words.
Very exciting.
Okay,
so you prepared the words again.
Yes, same as last time. I have strolled the graveyard, the cemetery. I've observed the headstones. I've sat there. I've spent time there. And at day under the sun and moon. And
you found some good headstones.
Let me tell you, these. I found some calling out to me. It sounds like there's some words in the dirt that want to come up. So I picked 3 of them that were the loudest. and I have sent them to your email.
I would love to also this time say that at least for me as the one choosing what word comes back,
Us.
So okay, so do we wait, you said us?
Well, it's just like last time. It's a discussion.
You okay? So that my impression last time was that I chose it, but if
you basically did.
If we're if
I'm
no, that's
down
good.
with all three of these.
No, I think it's a good. Basically, what I was gonna say is I have to use it in my story this week.
Oh yeah.
Whatever the word is, if I don't, then
if you
we
love
busted
it
out
so
that
much.
defibrillator for nothing because it dies again. And the only way to actually revive it is to use it.
That's true.
Like because you have to justify that it was the right word to bring back.
Right.
So
that's true.
That's what I'm going to. Together we'll choose, and we will then know together what we're gonna have to put in our story. Anyone who wants to do it will get bonus points. Anyone who wants to put it in their story this week will get bonus points. But
hold on. So I liked the surprise factor when because Magic came out and it was like it stood there for a while.
In the oven for a long time too.
Yeah, it took off, man. Like we didn't see it for a while, and then boom, it hit. And actually, well, we'll get to it later, but maybe more than once. And so maybe what if we did this? What if obviously you can always use it anytime that you want to after it's up and out of the grave, but what if, let's say, how many episodes was that?
How many
That was
episodes?
The first episode. So this is the 5th. So if a dead word goes 4 episodes without being used, it goes back.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that because that is then there's pressure for the community to participate as well. If you guys see a dead word that's not coming back, the ball's in your court.
Yes.
If you want that puppy to stay alive, then just write it into a story. It's simple as that. But,
right. But it should be used because you like that word and want to use it, not because
of course. But why else would you be trying to save it unless you liked it?
Exactly. All right. So there it is. All right. So Smash It is back. I mean, that thing came back hard.
Mm-hmm.
He's in. He's still walking around. He's growing some flesh on his bones. It's great.
I've heard some people even using the other words that we didn't bring back, which is illegal, and we will fine you and kill you if you use those words.
I think your dad was one of them.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, I already killed him.
Okay, good. I'm glad there's no loose ends. This is a resolved story. Okay, so let's get in, man. Yes. These things are starting to smell. I need to get them out of the.
All right. I think if they're starting to smell, we should leave them in there, right?
Wait. No. Okay. They just need some air.
All right. I'm doing A first.
A. Yes.
A fogo.
A fogo.
All right. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. Fogo. 18th century English. An overpowering...
What's going on in the 18th? I'm just kidding. I meant to look up like what the historical
time periods.
I
meant to look up time periods before this episode, but I forgot again. So I still don't know what time periods are.
Hey, maybe next time. Anyway.
Fogo. An overpowering and unpleasant stench.
Yes, the magic of holding her newborn baby disappeared the moment she opened that diaper and the fogo escaped. Take a look at the example, the picture.
So modern.
It does.
This sounds like
it?
if a Zoomer came up with this now, I'd be like, it's a little too soon for that. That's like a year 3017.
Right, like where it could be in a song that's like that hits the charts or something like that. Like, keep that fogo out of here. Something, and there's like, and then you hear someone saying, like, come on, don't say that yet. That's not a thing. Is it? Is it a thing now? Come on. But dude, look at the picture.
Yeah, I know.
She sends in some Fogo. She was stoked, and now she's like, God dang it. She's got some cherries by her. She's like, I don't even want those cherries anymore. It stinks over here.
It looks like it's vaguely trying to satisfy what the example sentence was, but at the same time, looking at the look on her face, she doesn't
want to be a mother anymore.
She looks so like it's not just like, ooh, stinky. Like it's not like it. Like she just made a long-term decision after thinking about it for a little bit. She's no, I'm not going to take care of this kid for much longer.
Turns out love is conditional. So Fogo is interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good one. All right, number 2. Grok.
This is a good one.
Verb grok. Oh my God. To stare eagerly at someone who's eating, hoping they'll give you food.
It's so good. It's so good. And look at this freaking grok.
What?
Look at this grok.
There's a word for this?
Look at
and we just killed it? We just let it die?
Everyone needs this. Every day.
Oh my God, this guy. Have you ever had someone look at you the way this guy is looking at you?
Oh, yeah, my dogs do it every meal.
I'm pretty sure that my chicken sandwich has had someone looking at it the way this guy's looking at me right now, and it's
dude,
the same guy.
It's like he's like pulling out his spoon or something. Like, do I need this, or you gonna finish that? Grok is good, man.
Did I see that? I know that I Think You Should Leave season 2 came out while I was in Texas, and we started watching this sketch comedy season 2 of that show. There's that one part with the dude who keeps trying to take the guy's burger.
I thought about the one with the hot dogs. He's like trying to eat a hot dog.
But there's some really good groking in that.
Yeah, there is. So grok is a verb, so it's like, stop groking me, bro.
Would it be groking at me?
Stop groking. It would, if once this thing gets up and going and gets some legs under it, it's gonna get thrown into slang quick. But grok, and it's like got some punch.
Yeah, it's really good. It sounds good and it means something great.
Yeah, Terrence had been known to grok when his dorm mates would come back with Taco Bell.
Is this Terrence in the photo? I think that's him.
God, man, I can relate to Terrence. I've definitely groked. I do a lot of groking, actually.
I mean, yeah, you live with Jenna.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard when your wife's a chef.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
Gongoozler.
20th century English slang.
20th century. Ooh, we know some stuff from that time.
Yeah.
That's when Titanic came out.
Okay.
I saw that. And when Titanic happened. Yes. Mm-hmm. All of it.
Not 900 AD, though.
What's that?
Not Titanic 900 AD, though.
Oh, no.
Not the right guy's Titanic.
Back in 900 AD.
Right. Okay.
A gongoozler is a person who stares, a non-participating spectator. That is really good. A lurker.
What's our
Keenan was a Facebook gongoozler, always lurking but never posting. Dude, that's me.
Are you a gongoozler?
I'm totally a lurker. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're a gongoozler. I'm a grok. It's okay. At least none of us. Yes, at least neither of us have Fogo. Oh man!
Wow, that is
so like rubbernecker
sentences you won't be able to say next week. That one, you just use all 3 words. Dude, those are going to be highly illegal soon.
Man, so rubbernecking would be like a gongoozler. Well, I guess I think the lurking aspect is
right. Like rubbernecking would be, because that is a form of lurking. It's just very brief. I
also
think
in movement. Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch it happen in a much more pure, distilled form by looking at something like social media. I think Facebook's a great one. I think Reddit I lurk even more than Facebook, because different ones invite more or less participation, or allow you to do more without participating. And so it's just like with Reddit, it's like if there's just a stream of videos, and it's like obviously this whole system only works if people upvote and comment.
Yeah.
And like,
And
I wish that I
gongoozle.
could say that if the whole world was like me, it would still keep running. But it's just like no one would like any of the photos that they like. No one would comment on any of the things that they have to say something about. It would just be a lot of watching things and no feedback.
Dude, gongoozling is going to be our downfall if we don't step it up. So these are again are brought to us by the Little Book of Lost Words by Joe Gillard. Guy's just killing it. Recommend this for your coffee table. But okay, so what are we thinking? I got just warming up these paddles.
I feel like I know which one I'm leaning in for.
Really? Okay, we got Fogo. We got Grok. We got Gongoozler. Where are you leaning, my friend?
Grok is too important. I can't lose it. Not again.
Dude, it's a home run. It feels like how I felt when I saw Smash It. And that's a close place to my heart.
Yeah, it's to me like so many of the funny sounding words, you hear what they are, and it's like, yeah, like there would be a funny sounding word meaning that, or it's sort of something like, yeah, there's a lot of weird sounding words to describe that thing. Like even like smash it, just a general insult. Sure, there are a lot of words that are just like funny sounding, cutting general insults. Smash it is a super special word, obviously, and it's like chef's kiss, but like
absolutely.
But grok is like, it's like one of those like you were here like iktswarpok, like some Icelandic word about the feeling you're gonna get when you're gonna have company, and so you just stand near the door. And it's like, oh, they have a word for that? That's crazy. Or like when you're trying to walk by someone and you keep going the same way. It's like, they have a word for that? That's crazy. This is like one of those. And it's like, we had it in the English language. This.
Yeah, it has been replaced by an entire sentence. Like,
yeah.
Dude, stop staring at me while I eat. Like, how else are you going to say it?
Right.
It's kind of like gawk, too. But gawking is different, It's way different.
It's
Same
so different.
Family almost.
Yeah.
But as different as siblings can be.
Yeah. Grok.
I'm with you. I think Grok's back.
Thank God.
Whew. Yeah. Hey, dude, we're getting R to a vowel. We're bringing Grok back. We're doing some important work on the English language right now.
Yeah. Dude, what would they have done without us? English was on its last legs, honestly.
God, I felt like it was leaving us. I felt like it was disappearing.
Well, I think we can both agree we arrived just at the right time to save our language.
Here we are, just doing our part.
Here we are to save the day.
Okay, so Ben, do you have your? This is going to take two. This guy's been dead a while. This is the 19th century. Do you have your defibrillator? I think
I'm ready.
We need we need 4 paddles on it. It lives!
It's alive!
It's alive! Grok lives and is now on the table. You get respect points for working it in. But where this really shines, where we really give this thing legs, is when we use it on the daily. Like try to figure out next time you're eating at work or in a line, or just you're just finishing that gigantic milkshake by yourself in your car in a moment of sadness, and you see someone looking at you, just think like, stop groking.
Yeah, like more importantly than as anything for right guys, it's like now you have a word that you can use to describe something more accurately and more cuttingly.
Yes, and my God, with the practice of keeping to a word count, this will certainly help.
Yeah, this is going to be in all my stories now, just to save on word count.
Yeah. I feel like as he ate the soup and the steam rolled over his head, Pip couldn't stop. Oh, wait, no. Groped. There it is. All right. Well, welcome back, Groke. Man, we're really excited to see you. Enjoy your days on this planet. We'll see if you last. We got 4 episodes to work them in, so. All right. Well, that wraps up that wraps up our second round of dead words.
Yes.
And Groke is back. We're sorry, Fogo and Gongoozler, you're going back in the dirt, bud. But Groke, good to have you.
Yeah.
So that wraps up that one. You wanna move on to, God, that special time.
Reading stories.
Get into the challenges.
Yeah,
baby.
dude. I'm ready.
All right.
Do you have one
I'm
ready to roll from the audience?
Yeah. What was our challenge?
Tidal Wave was the name of it. And it was essentially, we had these big word banks full of movie titles. Me and Micah each had a separate word bank with 3 movie titles in each one. Our task was to incorporate each movie title into one full length long title that has some word from each movie title in it. And we could use any number of words, mix and match them in any way we want, as long as we incorporated all 3 titles and then justified the title in the plot of the story somehow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so we got a couple submissions. I know it was Christmas break and everyone's super busy and everything like that. And this was a tough one. This was a weird one for sure. Like, you really had to bend your imagination around to make this one work. But unfortunately, although one of them was written really well and I really wanted to share, they did not abide by the guidelines. We won't call out names or anything, but if you're listening,
yeah, we like the story.
Yeah, the story was great, but in order to be qualified, you had to take the story title. You had to make a title out of those movie titles, and you had to use a word from each movie title. For example, Ben's pool was 300, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, and Saving Private Ryan. So your story title had to have 300 in it. It had to have something from How Stella Got Her Groove Back, something from Saving Private Ryan. And this person wrote a story very cleverly about how to work all of those elements into a story, but it was just using the words in the story itself. So good story though, great writing. So we've got one to share today that did hit the guideline, and it is from a Right Guys veteran, Anna Hamilton. Okay, this is 10 Things I Hate About the Wizard of Pride. All the others I can bear. The wizard of lust, of gluttony, of sloth, the wizards of envy and greed, even the wizard of wrath I can abide, but never the wizard of pride. He is the wickedest of them all, as surely pride is the deadliest of those 7 sins, for it is the one that bursts the daring to commit all the others. You may think me a petty smatchet for holding such a grudge. No, I assure you, this wizard is truly hateful. And to make manifest the rationality of my hate, I offer 10 reasons as follows. 1. He assassinated our good king, Jondalar, with that wicked poison of which is his sign and seal. 2. After the foul murder of King Jondalar, he set himself up as ruler in his stead. Usurper! 3. Whereupon he sent out the other wizards to ravage our land. The wizard of gluttony stole our food. The wizard of greed sacked our towns. The wizard of lust bore off our fairest maidens. These wizards I hate for their wicked deeds, but not so much as him that commanded them. The cur is not even human. He was once a man, but, they say, infused with the blood of a powerful demon, he became something else entirely. To wit, his eyes are black and blank as obsidian. His face is a white mask, and he commands powers unnatural to him. 6. He used his evil magic to blacken the face of the sun and deprive the land of light, all because, in his own words, I can. 7. He then demanded that the terrified people bow at his feet and worship him as a god. Blasphemy! 8. When I refused to bow, I cursed him for his wicked daring. He blasted me with magic from his staff, racking me with unbearable pain. I still remember it to this day. 9. And for no other reason than my righteous defiance, he bound me in his darkest, dankest prison cell, and subjected me to daily tortures. 10. He has condemned me to be executed tomorrow. The candle burns low. The morning is almost here. I commend this letter to you, my dear reader, so you will know why I so hate the Wizard of Pride, and so that perhaps one day you shall avenge me.
Cool. I as soon as it started doing the like the list, my my mind starts going because I've been thinking about all these challenges in so many different ways, and like inevitably I always get to a point where I'm like, does it even need to be a story? Like I don't really even need to write a story as long as there's just like something, as long as there's information and it makes sense and there's some satisfying logic to it. Then
like a snapshot
of
like, what that story would be type thing.
Yeah, like a snapshot or just something like a list. Like like that doesn't have like something happening in it. But then as soon as it started, it was like grounded things, like it was like events, like 10 things, which I thought was really cool. And my mind started going, trying to figure out, because I knew pretty much at some point in the list, it would shift to be like about the present. Or at least I thought it would toward the end. And then that's how it would start to like, because there's a moment where it goes from being like an abstract thing to being a story. And that was like really intriguing to me in this one, listening to it, because
I thought the resolve was really cool. You know, where like you're kind of like you're thumbing through like a history of events pretty much, and then it brings it home where you're like, oh shit, this is a last letter to someone on death row. You know, they're about to die for this.
Yeah, it's like cool. You get this setup, and there's like this nexus of it's like ideas just floating around, and it's like things have happened. There's like this history. You're seeing all these other scenes, and then all of a sudden it's concentrated, and you know where you are.
Yes.
And it's like everything else was just context to put you in that one spot, and that was really cool. That was done nicely done.
Way to go, Anna. Little high points for me was smash it. You may think me a petty smash it for holding such a grudge, and well use. Like that's exactly how it could be used. Then I also really liked his eyes are black and blank as obsidian. I like that he said blank as obsidian. You know, that just immediately splashes a picture of like an obsidian wall or something, and it's basically like a mirror. Like you can't see in it. It's just there's no depth. It's right here. You're not getting in there. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, this guy, he sounds like a total dick. So I think you've got all the reason to hate the Wizard of Pride right here.
Oh, was this from? Wait, we got this submission from the dude in the prison? Is this from the real guy? Oh, damn.
Well, yeah, no, Anna just delivered it.
Okay.
Because he didn't have a computer.
I didn't realize. That's crazy.
He doesn't have a computer, Ben.
I'm such an idiot.
Dude. Yeah, it's dank and dark. He doesn't have a computer screen in there. What's this?
All right, should I go?
Yes.
My turn.
What was your pool?
300. How Stella got her groove back, and Saving
landmine.
Private Ryan.
Okay.
The tough thing was that I had to use the word 300 because it was one of the entire one, so I had to use that word because you have to use a word from each story. And then there's no plural noun in all the rest of the movie titles.
God. And that's your fault because I said I gave the option to add
I could
plurals.
have discerned enough.
Like, no.
I could have discerned enough minutiae of the rules that I could have manipulated it during the game, but the 10-minute window that I had after receiving 300 was not long enough to determine. But
God, and that was the first one you. So I when I was making all those, I wrote all of them down in like 300. I was like, ooh, that's a landmine. I hope I don't get that one. And then it ends up being the first one that you drew, and I was like, ugh. All right, let's go.
How Ryan got 300 back. Can you look up the receipt by my phone number? Ryan bit his lip and toyed absentmindedly with a crumpled slip of paper in his pocket. 215-839-1057. The kid behind the counter sighed and withdrew his hand from a bag of party-sized Cool Ranch. He wiped his fingers on his chest just above a bright blue bullseye branded name tag. Doug with 2 G's. D-U-double-G. Christ. Doug began tapping at his keypad, and Ryan repeated his number. Somewhere between inputting the number and reading the results, Doug found his moment to sneak a Doritos. He crunched as he shook his head. Card? What? Do ya have the card? Doug nudged the card reader toward him. You made the original purchase on. Ryan produced his wallet and swiped a card through the machine. Doug went for another Cool Ranch before consulting the monitor. Nope. Nothing there either. Doug shrugged out a labored sigh, as if he'd been through this 100 times today. Without a receipt, we can exchange it for the current value, which is... beep! $400. $400? This suit was $700 when I bought it last week. Yeah, went on sale. Like a discount? Something we do pretty regularly here. A few weeks ago, we ran these in our flash sale rack. Had them going for $100 a piece. Ryan clenched his jaw. But it'll come back off sale, right? Can't I exchange it for the full price at least? Sorry, but you have to trade for the current value. If you don't have your receipt, we can't know how much you paid for it. Ryan ran his fingers playfully over the slip of paper in his pocket and held back a smirk. Then how can you know I didn't buy this on the flash sale a few weeks ago? Doug slowed in his tracks. I suppose we can't. He scratched his head. I'm sorry, sir. I don't really decide the rules here, but if you want to exchange this suit, I'd be happy to authorize an exchange for you up to $400 worth of merchandise. Of course he would. The rules had been the same for a long time here at Bullseye, and they were ironclad. Ryan had been nailed by them before, but not today. Today, he was nailing the bullseye right back. Can you point me in the direction of the flash sale rack?
How he got 300 back.
Yeah, that's so how
clever.
He did it.
Okay, so hold up. So Ryan, he bought it for 700.
No.
He's able to get...
So the slip of paper in his pocket is the hint. So this is an ambiguous ending and an unresolved ending where you can figure out. So Ryan bought this suit for $100, and now he's going to exchange it for $400 worth of stuff that's currently on flash sale, meaning it goes back off sale and will be worth more.
Oh.
So he
has the receipt.
So he's been burned by this store like a long time ago. Like Bullseye, at some point to him, there was an exchange that went down a lot in price, and he started thinking about it, and he realized that if their system was broken enough that it did him dirty in that way, there's a way he can do them dirty.
If he just
using
flips
the same system against them.
Yeah.
And this is actually autobiographical story.
Oh my God. Oh, I know this story.
No, wait, don't say the name. Don't say the name of the store. We're going to bleep that out. Don't say the name of the store.
Oh but my God, I remember this.
So basically, like, I was I was supposed to get a pair of jeans. I won like a prize from this nameless store, right? Of
Uh-huh.
some kind. And when I went in to get my prize, it was like it was supposed to be jeans, right? But it was like
Mm.
women's jeans and it was like their cheapest possible pair of women's jeans. So like it was advertised to me as I was supposed to be able to just trade it in for any jeans at that point. But
Uh-huh.
I then had to like pay money to exchange them for men's jeans. And so like they basically said I won a prize and then I came in and they made me spend money in their store.
Right.
And so I dedicated myself to getting that money back with some interest. Um, and I I basically found this way within their exchange system, which this store has changed now. Um,
Okay.
that you
They
cannot,
learned.
you actually can't do the system the same way that I was doing it at that time. That you could, I did go back and reevaluate, and I did create a new system that you could still use on the store, but I haven't done it.
Just a theory crafting exercise.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. That's so good. And man, I hate Doug. Golly. And I love that he's eating Cool Ranch too.
Yeah, the description when I came up with just calling them a party-sized bag of Cool Ranch,
Uh-huh.
I loved that.
Yeah. This is a big bag of Cool Ranch. And I love I like the nuance of two G's, and you're just like, Christ. This is who I'm dealing with.
Yeah,
Doug with
somehow it says so much about the content of his character, something that he had
And it's-
absolutely no control over.
And I think the store name is great. Bullseye. Like, oh man. Well done, sir. You took
Thank you.
you took a lemon and made lemonade. All right, let me know when you're ready. Don't read it.
I'm ready.
Okay. Um this is an excerpt from the New York Times best-selling novel 10 Things I Hate About Wizard Pride. Here we are, kid. Now hand me that spyglass. Rhoda unclasped the long tube and slapped it in Quinn's awaiting palm. A parade. Of course. Rhoda couldn't see anything. The black grease she'd smeared across her face was starting to burn as sweat channeled rivulets of the stuff into her squinting eyes. What do you see? She asked, trying to wipe her face with her glove. Ugh. Disgusting. Just so. Ugh. He offered the scope over his shoulder. For prime examples of numbers 8 through 6, look no further than what's coming up the road. Having zero success with her now grease-slicked gloves, collar, and sleeve, Rhoda resorted to pawing the black smear with her bare fingers. It had seemed like a good idea in her room. I mean, that's what you did when prepping oneself for a night of espionage, right? She didn't actually know, of course, this being her first ever such night. Upon clearing one eye, she noticed Quinn's expectation. She reached, the precious tool quickly slipping from her greasy grasp. Shit! She yelped as it bounced over the roof ledge. Quinn snapped around. What? Ah! Quickly piecing together the paralyzed wince of his now one-eyed Rhoda with the absence of his beloved instrument, he sucked his teeth. You dropped it. It slipped. I couldn't see. Rhoda stammered. Quinn realized her disarray. What the hell happened to you? It's grease. I thought it'd be stealthy. Her tears re-wetting the gunk and blinding her again. She slouched down the parapet, head hung in blind defeat. Ah, hey. Quinn lightened, knowing well the uselessness of a pouty Rhoda. You look. He looked over her. One gloved hand, grease everywhere, crying, oblivious to the puddle she'd plopped down in. Really stealthy. Like, I think you just used too much. Yeah, I think you're right, Rhoda sniffled, eyes closed tight. Quinn took a knee, returning to his disdain. Fucking sparks. It's bad enough they exist, kid. Basically immortal, magic little fingers mucking up our politics, our supply chains, and now the king decrees Wizard Pride Month. Number 3 on the list, Rhoda proudly interjected, blindly washing her fingers in the puddle about her. Yep, number 3. Hell, maybe even higher. Also, we can gas up their ancient egos even more. It's bullshit, Rhoda agreed, back to pawing at her eyes. Damn right it is. Quinn glanced toward the parade. That's why it ends tonight, once and for all.
Wow. Dude, that's so cool. It's like how like you like why? And you did so much more than you had to do. You gave us like a whole world.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the I don't know, like can you take me through this?
Yeah. Okay, so basically, uh, I didn't want to I didn't want to do a list. I didn't want to go through 10 things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this was something that like we talked about at the beginning of this, where you go through where you kind of like have an idea and you let it cook. You just toss it in the pot and let it cook for a couple weeks. And I was like, okay. The first thing that that hit me was I was gonna do like a Flynn Rider from Tangled, like kind of inner monologue while he's like wrecking this like it was always a Wizard Pride parade, because I just thought that'd be a funny thing, you know. And I wanted to go more comedic, more a route with it, but so I started thinking about him, and then I started thinking about like an assistant, and Rhoda, like the name came to me as an actual name that I've heard recently, that I was like, oh, Rhoda's an interesting name. And then whenever I made her his assistant, she just quickly started like messing up, and and like the duo became like I just kind of started writing them as like not organized, and like just like this is like just kind of like disgruntled dude and his lackey.
Yeah. Their back and forth is so good.
And they're going up against wizards, so this is obviously going to fail. But it really like I liked them so much. I kept wanting to write them, and I was like, how am I going to bust away from these and like bring this whole parade in and all this action? And then I was like, no, I'm just having fun with this. I'm going to keep going. And I was like, okay, so I got to work a few numbers in there, but I don't want to get into the wordiness of like what a number is. It's just kind of like, so like having him look through the scope and be like, you want examples of 8 through 6? Look right over there, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is like his creed, that he's like his lessons he's trying to teach his lackey.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's really good. Their relationship, their back and forth feels real, like feels like lived in. Like I mean that it makes sense if that's where you were like hanging your hat when you were writing this, sort of like that's where you were enjoying being, and that's where you ended up staying and grooving. And so like it totally makes sense that that's the part that's like sticking out.
Hell yeah.
But I want to, so it starts with like they're looking at a parade of wizards, right? And then she but before she can actually look through it, she drops it. We don't really see through it.
No. So he's looking through it. So basically they have like found it to this rooftop, right? And this is like the
But we don't see it through his eyes. We don't see through it through his eyes, do we?
Well, so it goes, here we are, kid, now hand me that spyglass. She hands it to him, and then, or a parade. Ha, of course. That's him, like the wizards are coming to town. He knows they're coming to town. Like, in my mind, it was like, let's meet on the rooftop. I've got a plan. And, you know, be like dress stealthy or something, you know. And so they meet on this rooftop, and Rhoda's got black grease smeared all over her face because she thought it'd be stealthy. She's never done this before. She's just excited.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
And so she hands him the eyeglass, and he looks through it, and that's when while he's looking through it, he's like, a parade. Ha, of course.
Yeah. But we, the camera, and just never. It's just like we stay with them. And
yeah,
it's interesting because we're, in my mind, like we're in Rhoda's perspective.
Yeah.
And for her, like she almost sees through it, then she drops it, where it feels like we're being kept in this bubble, and it's kind of cool. Like it's like you get these things with, like, obviously you had a word count limitation, which was the limitation here, but you see these things with different limitations. Like, this might be the way it looks if you had a certain number of actors limitation too, right? Like, you had to make it work with only 2 actors. This is how the scene would go. Like, you drop the spyglass right before you look through it. It's just like really cool how contained it feels to me, of like, there's other things out there, but we're not going to look at them. We're just looking at these 2.
Yeah, this is the focus. And like that's something that honestly Joe Abercrombie is so damn good at, where as he switches to characters, or even like observing a character, like it doesn't even have to be in the character's head. It's just like, what are you observing like when he observes a character, he takes everything you know about that character and only that, and allows you to like observe them in that. And so I've been actively trying to like work that. I'm really impressed by that, and I want to work more of that into my storytelling. And so with this, that was like a challenge I wanted to stick on. Of like, okay, the focus here is Rhoda. Like, we're watching Rhoda in this. We're not in Rhoda's head, but we know about like we're along with her, you know, and she's just excited. And but then like as he's looking through, like it's a sweaty night, and then her grease gets in her eyes, and she's like, oh crap. And so she's just like, he's looking through, and she's just like can't see, and kind of like clears an eye, and then sees him offering the scope, and he's like, oh crap, and then drops it.
Oh, so Sparks is Sparks a curse?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so Sparks is a curse word for as a derogatory term for wizards.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, like, I thought like somehow like one of them like cast something like a spark to like hit the spyglass out of her eye. So for a little while I was trying to figure out what that was, but yeah,
that was something I didn't know, because I wanted it to be like he's calling like a wizard a spark, like this little spark over here.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that should be capitalized or not.
I think then I would definitely assume it's like an official word for them. But if it's just supposed to be a swear that he's using to talk about them right now, then it would be lowercase. But if you're trying to say that word would just be a derogatory term for wizards, then I would say maybe capitalized would get it across.
Yeah, basically like something that he like the underbelly of society that hates wizards. Like,
yeah. I think if it was
Sparks.
capital S, I would
Okay.
I would get that quicker. Yeah.
Okay.
Because even with the lowercase, even if I know he's just generally swearing and not talking about a specific spell that they just cast called Spark, even if I know it's just a swear, I still assume that it in the next sentence isn't going back to Spark. It's just talking about wizards in general. Like, and he's just saying like fucking shit. I hate wizards.
Okay, yeah. Instead, it's like,
he's like that specific name. It's bad enough they exist.
Yeah. It's the bad word for wizards.
Yeah, that's
Sparks.
Cool. I think that's a
kind
really
of
good.
cut them down a notch.
Yeah, exactly.
Sick.
It's like a dismissive way to talk about something that they do.
Yeah. They are doing magic, and it is shooting lightning from their fingers, and he's like, "Oh, spark, cool."
Yeah.
Oh, look at these sparks.
It's a good one.
Hell yeah! Feel free, anybody who's writing about wizards, if you want to use sparks, it's fair game.
Nice. He's put it on on public domain.
Yeah.
Did you know that if you make something public domain, it can be monetized by someone after that fact? There's like a woman who had this image that was like an image of like it was just a famous, like a photograph of some like landmark or something like really beautiful. And she put it in public domain specifically so that anyone would be able to use it. And then she got copyright claimed for using it at some point. And she was like, this is public domain. And so she sued Getty Images for like $1 billion for copyrighting her image that she made public domain, and they won the lawsuit.
Oh, wow.
Because once something's public domain, she's the one who relinquished her rights to it when she made it public
and then
domain.
someone can just snack it up.
Someone can commercialize something that's public domain.
Man, I'll start going through public domain stuff and be like, I'll take that and that and that.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. Like, obviously, it's not just being able to have something. It would be like transforming it and then owning like some version of it that is your version of it, you know? Like,
Got you.
but it's like, yeah, it's definitely pretty like iffy and weird.
Yeah, that's super weird. Well, that was so that was 10 things I hate about Wizard Pride, and that was from the pool. Wizard of Oz, 10 things I hate about you, and uh, Pride and Prejudice. That's right. All right, fun challenge.
Yeah, dude. And I guess now it's time to introduce the challenge for next week as we're kind of
That's what
wrapping
time
things
it
up.
is.
So the challenge for next week, it's kind
And
of
I don't
funny.
know about this. This is all on Ben.
Yeah.
So he's surprising me with this
yeah,
right now.
Yeah. And it's hard because there's two that I've been going between.
Okay.
But and both kind of had little tie-ins to this episode somehow. But in the end, I think the one I'm more interested in doing is introducing the loop challenge. So this is pretty similar to, in some ways, to the specific type of resolution, like the circular resolution or whatever, the tight resolution that ends where it begins. But the idea of this challenge is just to write anything that ends where it begins and begins where it ends, and you can take that to mean anything you want. It could just be a song that loops that like wouldn't necessarily end, or it could be a story where a character is walking down a hallway and when they get to the one end they're back at the beginning.
So you're not talking about a tied ending.
No,
like
we're talking about time loops. We're talking about time loops. We're talking about something that is literally ending where it begins. Or
same
the loop,
time, place, everything.
Yeah, the loop. It doesn't necessarily have to end where it begins, but it has to loop. Like it could start in the middle and then end at the 1.5 times through the loop or something. But like,
but you got to see it. You got to see it loop. It doesn't have to end where it is, but you've got to see it loop around.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that may mean ending where it begins. I think that's a great way to do it, because beyond that point you'd just be seeing the same thing again. So like,
that's true.
Right, most of the time they'll end where they begin. But yeah.
All right. I love it.
If you want a story it can mean anything. It could be as big as small if you want. If you want a story that only some of it is looping, and like there's a part of it that loops, and then like they get out of the loop or something, or there's a part before they go in the loop. That's totally. It's just like looping should be a part of it. You should be able to see a whole loop of some kind happen.
Okay. We need to witness a full loop.
Right. Because if you only show us 90% of it, then we don't see how it connects. And for all intents and purposes, it wasn't a loop.
True. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Badass.
Yeah. And then the idea behind this challenge, and a lot of the challenges so far, is that after we've introduced them as a challenge, they're game to be added as modifiers to future challenges.
Yeah.
So loop it is one of the things me and Micah have been talking about since the beginning of the podcast as a challenge modifier that we want to be able to tack on, which is just this challenge, the element of this challenge that is unique, tacked onto anything else.
Yeah. So for example, like the first challenge ever was the dog buried but that, or whatever it was.
The dog buried the secret in the backyard.
Yeah. And then if we were like, and modifier, loop it.
Yeah. You have to do that
the challenge
prompt
plus loop it.
Exactly. So this time it's just anything you want to write that loops.
It's
a good opportunity for anyone who's been wanting to write something in general. You know, this is pretty wide open prompt. You could be fulfilling some kind of creative obligation that you already had if you are doing that kind of thing. You know, let's all get in this together. Try to figure out some ways to pick apart these stories and get them eating themselves like the Ouroboros.
Which I love that symbol. Yeah. Ouroboros. All right, so what's our word count?
So the word count, I mean, I'd be happy to say like taking the shelf off in some senses, like just say like what do you know, 800 word maximum.
Okay. All right, and let's reiterate. You don't have to do 800 words.
No.
Like we say 50 to 800 words because like
50 to 800.
I want to see at least 50 words. But I was talking to somebody who was like, we were talking about the podcast, and they're like, yeah, I really want to get in and do some of those challenges, but I just don't have time to write 400 words. And I was like, well, all you got to do is 50. So there's not like, and if you write a 50 word thing. That doesn't mean we're not going to read it. You don't get more points for it being longer. It's all about what you do with those 50 words.
But also, if
words.
you've been writing with us so far, then you probably know that the higher the word count, the easier it is to write.
Yeah.
It's trying to keep things short that is always difficult. And it's like you can talk to people and they'll say that kind of thing like, oh, but I don't have time to write 500 words. And it's like, dude, like, you'd be surprised. Maybe you do have time to write 500 words, and what you don't have time to do is write 50 words. Because like
maybe you have enough time to write 1,000. You don't have enough time to shrink that down to 400.
Yeah. So make no mistake, when Mike and I are in here like upping the word count on each other, we're not like measuring who's gonna be like cooler by like putting in more effort and like writing a longer thing. It's like we're both being progressively more lazy, saying that we want to do less cutting of our stories and just be able to just like draft and write what we want the first time. Because it's like my first draft of my story will oftentimes be that like 600, 700 words, and it just like pops right out. It's like, was it good? And then it's like, oh, now it's 3 hours of trying to make this 250 words.
Yeah, for me, it's basically like reaching into another random bag of modifiers, and I'm like, we did 400. How about 200? And then it's like, I'm sitting there like, God, why'd I have to say 200 words? But either way, it is a good practice, and so we're gonna keep with like we'll just have a loose cap on this one. But you do learn a lot about your own writing.
It's great to have in the mix. I don't think it has to be every challenge. Yeah,
that's true.
It's important. I think to practice a lot, but it's not everything. But I did want to ask how it went for you this time. How was your word count experience?
So
Rhoda and Quinn.
Well, that was also like after the week-long cook of this idea in my head, and I got down and started writing. Rhoda and Quinn bouncing back and forth, and Rhoda kind of just turning into an absolute mess, happened really fast, and I quickly found myself like just wanting to write them, and then I kind of like bounced off, and I was like, well, let's see where I'm at, and it was like I was at like 523. And that was at the point of, let's see, she had just dropped the thing, and I was like, crap, I haven't even talked about why this is Wizard. Like, what is Wizard? I haven't even introduced Wizard Pride Month. I haven't done this. I haven't done this. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stick with these people. I'm just going to like have this be like you're just gonna get to know these people a little bit, and that's where I kind of like decided to make him just like vaguely talk about these numbers. Like, this list exists. This is, if you watch the whole movie, you get to know the whole list. But at this scene, we're hopping in like in the middle of this thing. But yeah, so then trimming it down was, I lost a lot of flair because I was having so much fun with them, and I was just, there was definitely some literary masturbation going on there where I was just like, oh, this feels too good. But I had to chop a lot of that out, but I'm still stoked with what it ended up being.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. My word count experience, like, well, this time, I mean, my whole thing with the 300 thing, like, I was trying so long. Like you said, you were able to cook this idea for 2 weeks. It's like I was just cooking the problem of 300 for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was just like doing logic problem solving, like moving words around, trying to figure out a way to make something that made sense. And could be like intense, that or could inspire some kind of like pressure, conflict, something relating to a story.
Well, dude, I wanted to also give you props. Like I've said it before, you did a modern story, and it was interesting, and it had me in, and it had characters and stuff like that. And awesome.
I went through so many ideas of what this story could have been. So I settled pretty, not like totally settled, but I thought if Ryan got 300 pretty early, and I was like, that one, it kind of makes sense. You could do a lot of different things with it. One of my drafts was like, this kid walks into a bowling alley and like he's looking up at the scores, and there's this one at the top, Ryan 300, because it's a perfect score. And then there's like an old man, and then he's like, you want to know how Ryan got that score?
I love that. I also loved your first idea right out the gate. You're like, I'm thinking like saving Groove 300 in this
Yeah.
weird like futuristic
Yeah,
dance
so
story.
that was, yes, that was going to be like a futuristic dance one. So I actually ended up changing that idea. I came up with another idea for that. Saving Groove 300 would be the same thing where it was like supposed to be someone saves the world through dance through some like dance video game, but I was thinking since it's 300 instead of, because I was kind of going with like a Dance Dance 3000 theme of like future, but I was going to actually send us back and do like someone saving the day with dance in the year 300. Like at some like nobleman's like party, like
Oh man, ooh, dude, you could go into a rain dance, and then it starts raining, and I could see, it. Then like, as the king laughed, he looked down and saw a droplet form by his sandal. It was like, oh my god, he did it. He danced the rain back.
but as I
Oh,
was
that's
going through
great.
all these different ideas, they I ended up thinking of the one that was like someone getting money back for a purchase, and then I was like, well, I have some experience with this one. Like this, it was like immediately like I had something to say, but I knew it was a shorter story. Like I knew there wasn't much to it. Like, and at the end of the day, I was just writing a normal store interaction at best. Like at worst, I'm explaining like the complicated rule system of the exchange policy of this one clothing store.
Uh-huh.
Like that's
Yeah.
just like, and I'm like, at one point I was writing and I was like, what am I writing?
Yeah. Oh god, I do that
I
all the
was just like,
time.
is this really
Like,
just about
god,
a
this is
still
boring.
about a receipt?
Is this story as boring as it is to write? Like,
and and so like I was just looking for ways to like flavor it, like make just flavor the Doug as like being like a really particular kind of guy, and like just like take as many of his mannerisms to the extreme as I could. And I was really filling out as much space I could doing those things because I knew it was a shorter story. And I had the rare experience, like I finished it up, I clicked word count 398,
oh,
and I
what a
just
good
closed
feeling.
it. I did not edit this story.
Amazing.
I wrote it today.
Well done. Well done, sir. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, bravo.
Yeah, the word count, sometimes it just works out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is gonna be fun blowing the lid off, pushing it out to. We'll just won't put one on it.
We'll put one on it. I don't want
Okay.
to
All right.
invite too much craziness.
2,000
Like,
word stuff.
no, I
There's
guess
like, oh god.
yes.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you a message from Ben from the future.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Ben from the editing studio. I just got off the phone with Micah, and we wanted to take off the minimum word count for this. We don't want you to think of it as something that has to be a story, so it's not something that has to be any number of words in particular. This could be a song, it could be a particularly beautiful sentence or thought that loops somehow. So any way that you want to come up with something that loops, we're open to accepting. And in that same vein, we're open to accepting things that aren't just word based. So if you wanted to make a video or a song and submit that as well, you could submit any type of file or just attach it or do a Google Drive link to our rightguyspodcast@gmail.com. You could send whatever you want. We would just ask that you also send a written component along with it, even if that's just a post hoc summary that you wanted to write, a description of what it is. But if you had some kind of script that you wrote for a video or something, or if it's a song and you had the lyrics written out, that would be great. And so, yeah, anything that loops in any of those veins, you can feel free to send them all. We're so excited to see what you guys come up with. The maximum word count for any of this would still be 800 words. So, yeah, looking forward to it. All right, I'm going to pass it back to these two. We're just going to
Let's do 800.
Yeah, just a normal word. We are going to do longer word counts with specific things that are like designed for that, like in the future, and we've talked about that. But
yes, next week's challenge we're really excited about. We're just working out the kinks on it. But
you want to do that one next time? We can do that.
That's what I was thinking.
Start it off.
Yeah. But no one knows what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, that wraps it up for me. You got anything else?
That's it, I think, for me as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, right, guys, for listening. It's good to have y'all back after the holiday break. And 2022 is going to be way fun with y'all. I can't wait to have a whole year with you. So can't wait to see where we're at. Where the next this next episode, or the next, like the 2023 episode like this is. We're like, damn, a whole year of Right Guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there.
Yep. We'll have a whole book of challenges by then.
Yeah. And a signed petition, and we'll have changed the English language, and R will be a vowel.
And all of our dead words will return to the dictionary.
Yeah, it'll be a parade. Oh, man.
A wizard pride parade.
Yeah.
All right. Too many internal references. Just going to cut it there. Thanks, guys, for watching.
All right. Later. Right Guys out. Beep, 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 beep.